Hi, and welcome to our hangout. I'm Allison, and today I'm going to be talking about coding and in the classroom. Our learning outcomes are to learn what coding is in general, how it's useful, and how we can utilize it in the classroom to enhance students' learning. So first off, coding is by definition, a symbolic arrangement of statements or interactions in a computer program. And in simple terms, it's basically telling a computer what you want it to do by typing it into the processor, and the computer will follow those steps. And this has been linked to foreign languages as in difficulty. So a lot of activists say to teach coding in elementary schools to um, give the children a step up and help them learn coding quicker, especially in today's society where technology is increasing at a large rate. So how is coding useful? Coding powers our digital world, and it's basically every website you see, every app you see, calculators, and even the microwave relies on code in order to operate and produce what you expect. So in our first article on the Google Doc, the JSTOR article, it explains the basics of coding and why it should be taught to children early on. And it also discusses how the engagement of students increases in other content areas. So in the JSTOR article, they discuss how you can incorporate different subjects such as science and mathematics and language arts into coding to teach the children different things at the same time. So, for example, in coding, you need to type in in coding, to make a game, you need to type in the different commands for the computer, and the children do this by using division and ratios and multiplication to put the right code in for the computer to follow it. Also, after they learn this, they are able to take what they have learned and utilize that throughout their life in tangible events. An advantage of coding is their computational thinking and problem skills seem to increase, which is also talked about in the JSTOR file. After they are involved in the computational thinking of coding, it has been shown that their problem skills solving quickens. They're more willing to solve problems, and they're also able to spot mistakes easily. Another way that coding can help students is it also improves their fluency in technology, which can help them later on in life. As I said before, technology is advancing, so they're going to need to know how to use technology in almost every profession in 10 to 15 years. So will be very helpful for them to understand how to use the computers in general, and if they're going into engineering or coding professions, they will already have a head start in the basics behind it. So one of the tools that I found interesting to help teach coding is called code.org. This is the website, and there are different courses that you can go to that the students are able to learn from, and a lot of them have different games and articles that they're able to read, and it goes by age. So if one of these students are more advanced than the others, they're able to go to a different course. So the students are able to work at their own pace, and no one really gets left behind. One of the facts on this website, if you go to stats and Maryland, it shows that 1 in 4 schools teach computer programming, even though 90% of the parents want their child to study computer science. So this shows that as the society grows technologically, parents want their students to be able to understand what is going on around them, but our curriculum hasn't completely caught up with this different technologies. Another interesting fact is that math, below right here, is shown that less than 30% of the students like to do it in school, but computer science and engineering as a subject is 54%. So that shows that if we utilize computer science and coding in the classroom to teach different skills, such as math and language arts and science, then the other contents that the students might not like teaching as much will be taught in a more fun and engaging way, so they will understand it better. And you're able to teach the children math and programming without them even realizing it, because they're playing games and making stories, and then they get to share that with their friends, and they're able to share it with their teachers, and the teachers can give them feedback on the different skills, such as their coding progress and their progress in their mathematical skills. In the next file on the Google Doc that I'll be showing you, it is an article that I have found, and it shows that researchers have found that teaching computer science in schools can increase engagement and learning in the classroom by allowing the students to teach themselves by wanting to continue their own learning of the subject. And this also explains that it can be implemented in various content areas such as math, language arts, and science. So for this article, the 2 researchers went into different classrooms and made some of the students teach or learn through coding and computer science, and some of the other students were taught through regular ways, as through discussions and lectures and handouts. And they found that the students that were doing the coding and learning through the computers were more engaged in their learning, wanted to learn more, and were also learning better, because if they're not engaged, then they're not completely learning the content. So the students that were using the handouts and were listening to the discussions were less engaged, so they weren't learning the concepts as quickly as the students that were using the computers to learn the different concepts. In the last article that I will show you, it shows or it discusses the benefits of teaching coding to children, and it also describes how it can be used in all the professions, and it describes multiple ways to begin teaching children coding and ways to introduce coding as a new topic to older children. So basically, that article is discussing how even though the students are learning coding at such a young age in elementary school instead of in high school and college, they are able to use what they have learned throughout their whole life, whether it's fluency or in their professions, and even in professions that you might not believe will use coding, such as nursing and being a teacher. It will just, in general, help them with their computational thinking, problem solving, creativity, and it will help them become more innovative, which will also help a lot in almost every profession. So, in another article called IST, or it's ist.org. This article demonstrates different viewpoints of teaching computer science and coding in the classroom and discusses the benefits and disadvantages of teaching. And in another article that I saw, in this article, there was a teacher called Miss Maz, and she basically described how she taught her children. They were fourth grade students in computer science, and she showed them a program called Scratch and told them how to use it and taught them the basics and how to make different items. And she talked about how they were able to learn the programs very quickly, and it discusses that teaching coding in the classroom also helps implement the ISTE standards for students, which I can pull up. So these are the ISTE standards for students, and they basically are rules that teachers try to follow to emphasize the skills and qualities for students, enabling them to engage and thrive in a connected and digital world. And they are used by educators across the curriculum, and they're basically trying to cultivate these skills through a student's academic career. So there are 7 different skills: empowered learner, digital citizen, knowledge constructor, innovative designer, computational thinker, creative communicator, and global collaborator. And in this article, it demonstrates that utilizing code, even though it covers most of these, covers 3 of these standards exactly, such as the first one, or the 5th one, computational thinker. Students develop and employ strategies for understanding and solving problems in ways that leverage the power of technological methods to develop and test solutions. So, for this, or as an example, while the students are using coding for games and for their stories, if they type something wrong into the computer, it's not going to work. So the students have to go back to what they typed and try to use their problem-solving skills to figure out what they put in wrong or if they hit the wrong button to get their story or their game to work out the way that they want to. The next standard is the creative communicator. And this says students communicate clearly and express themselves creatively for a variety of purposes using the platforms, tools, styles, formats, and digital media appropriate to their goals. So this shows, or this is basically saying that the students should be creative in anything that they create, and this is shown by the students creating whatever types of games or stories that they want as their projects, and they are not bounded by different rules as in what they can make, so they can be as completely creative as they would like to. The last standard I'm going to talk about is the seventh one, Global Collaborator. And this states that students use digital tools to broaden their perspectives and enrich their learning by collaborating with others and working effectively in teams locally and globally. So this standard is a major one in using coding in the classroom. If you use coding in the classroom and the students are using the computer science to make different stories or projects, then these teachers can put them either in groups or use all of them as a whole and get the students to compare and contrast their stories or their games with another one of their peers. And this gives them the chance to look back at what they've done, look at what their peer has done and their other classmates have done, and be able to better their story or share ideas, and again go back to the other one to be more creative in what they will create or what they have done. So now for the handout, the main idea of this lesson is that coding is a symbolic arrangement of statements or interactions in a computer program. And two of the advantages of coding are the students' computational thinking will lead to critical thinking and problem solving, which will help them throughout their life and through the rest of their school or educational career, and in other content areas such as math and science and language arts and social studies. The second one is coding will increase students' fluency in technology for later use in life and will enable them to become more innovative, which will aid them in almost all professions. Two disadvantages of coding that many have brought up are that if you use computer science as a content area, the schools must have the resources to teach the specific lesson plans. So this is basically saying that the students are not able to get their full learning because some schools don't have the same resources as others do. So one way that they are able to alleviate this disadvantage is at the website that I showed you, code.com. If you go to the studios, they have this right here called Unplugged Lessons. And it says, if you don't have computers, try these unplugged lessons in your classrooms. So you are able to go to these lessons that shows a curriculum video showing you how to do it so you don't need retraining, or if this is a very off topic situation that you want to bring up, you'll understand it very quickly, and you're able to have the whole lesson plan right here. Shows you the materials, and it gives you different guides, and it has the activity right here that you were able to print out and cut, and then the students can do the same coding techniques that they're able to do on the computer at their desk. Another disadvantage is that coding requires an increased independence than normally expected of the children of that age. But as I said previously, research has shown that while using computer science to teach the different content areas and coding, the students were more engaged in their learning. So if they're more engaged, then they're having fun doing the learning. So the teachers are able to not be, or the students are not as dependent on the teacher for their learning, and the teachers are able to walk around and make sure everyone's on task while not having to teach the students directly. And the students are able to teach themselves at their own pace, and all of the students are able to stay on the right track. So some reflection questions that I have for you are: on the website code.org, the statistics show that 1 in blank schools actually teach computer programming in schools. The answer to this is 4. So 1 in 4 schools actually teach computer programming, even though it has been shown that parents, almost 90% of parents, want their child's school to teach computer science. Question 2 states that the 2016 ISTE standards for students emphasize the skills and qualities we want for students, enabling them to engage and thrive in a connected digital world. All of the following are ISTE standards for students talked about that can be covered by teaching technology, except 1, digital citizen, 2, global collaborator, 3, critical thinking and problem solving, and 4, creativity and innovation. And even though all of these are the ISTE standards, I'm sorry, one of the standards that we did not talk about is the A, digital citizen. And we've talked about global collaborator and how it can help by using the different, or letting the students talk with their peers about their different projects. And we've also talked about critical thinking and problem solving and how it can help them go back and fix any mistakes that they might have made. And then creativity and innovation, they're able to type in whatever they want and make whatever they want. So they have the power in how they learn and what they're going to learn about. So finally, the going back to how we can use this in the classroom. Coding in the classroom is a way to get the students not only more involved, but also teaching them something that can influence and help them the rest of their life. Teaching coding will help them get a better understanding of the technology that's being introduced increasingly in the past couple of years, and that will continue to do so in the next 10 to 15 years. An increase in computer science teaching has begun, but we still need to increase the amount of computer science and coding taught in the classroom, so it will allow the students to understand what is being produced, and it will also help with concepts such as math and language arts and science by teaching them their basic concepts that we already have in the curriculum with also the same type of concept by teaching programming as well. So they're learning two things at once. So I hope you have learned a lot about coding and computer science in the classroom and how it can be very useful for students later in life, and how it can help the teachers teach the students the different content areas at the same time. If you have any questions, I encourage you to look back on the Google Doc that I will have linked below, and to look at the warm-up and just think about the reflection questions and how coding can help students in the classroom. I hope that you have learned a lot about computer science and coding, and I hope to see you implementing these strategies and these concepts in your classroom. Bye.